Now we're going to talk about ceilings. Again, we'll show you a finished product. We'll talk about the ceiling strings, how do you put them up, how many do you need. We'll talk about putting up the ceiling crepe paper, and there's some biggies in putting up the paper. It cannot touch the lights. Last year the fire department gigged the heck out of us because they were touching the lights in several different places. It's just a no-no, and they will red tag us until it's corrected. It can't cover the strobe lights. This is the strobe light. There's one over every door. We will show you a procedure for getting your ceiling by there without covering it. We'll talk about how to close the gap at the room. When you run the ceiling across the room, the flats only come up 8 feet. The ceiling is 9 feet, and so there's a foot gap there. We'll show you how to cover it, and we'll talk about what do you do with the leftover supplies. Okay, here's a finished room. You may remember we looked at this room at the very start, and what they did then is you notice the crepe paper ends here. Notice how it's tight. And we'll talk about that, but there's a note in there that the way you get it here, you roll it up just a little bit, and we will talk about that. A 5-string installation. And it says 5 strings because that's what some people do. And that's okay. I'm not convinced that you need all 5 strings. However, so you can use 1 string, 2 strings, or 3. Let me rephrase it. This is talking about ceiling brackets, and I want to stop just a minute and talk about installing the ceiling brackets, and then we will come back to this. Okay, this is a ceiling bracket. It will be in your box like this. You'll have 6 of them, enough for 3 setups. There will be these 2 clips are attached to it. The piece of wire tie down here probably is not attached to it. We'll talk about what that is for. And now you have to put it up on the ceiling T-bars. And it is my belief in putting a room together, you can't have too many ladders. But we're talking ladders that are 5 foot or 6 foot. Not household stools, not 3-foot ladders. And I'm going to show you why. So here's a typical 3-foot ladder. And I'm doing this right next to the wall so I can hang on. But the ceiling is 9 foot high. I think I'm a normal sized guy, about 5'9". So to put this on, I have to stand on top of this to reach it, and then I'm stretching. And that's dangerous, difficult, and slow. This is a 6-foot ladder. You can do it with a 5-foot ladder, but now to put it on, well, I'm having trouble doing it this way, so I'm going to do it the way that I personally find easier. So I put it on, it twists on very easily. I slide them in place, put the washer on, and run up the wing nut. I'm not putting the washer on now in the interest of time. Just has to go up finger tight, and I drop it. Just goes up finger tight. And the important thing in this regard is to recognize that the leg goes, the down leg goes next to the wall. If you put the down leg this way, which people have done, then you've got a gap in the ceiling that can't be covered. So the down leg goes next to the wall. Sometimes When you're pulling on them, they might slide a little bit. If that's the case, just cut a piece of cardboard, put it up here, and tighten it up a little more.
So per your directions right there, this going like this then?
Yes, they go the long way of the room. And because of this, I can't use that end of the room.
So there's 5 of them, 1, 2, 3, 4,
Yes,
5?
but we only give you 3 sets because you only need 3 strings to hold up a ceiling.
Okay.
As a matter of fact, I've seen it done with just a center string. Now what happens then is when you put the crepe paper on, the crepe paper sags. So what people feel is that it's easier to put up 5 strings than spend so much time trying to pull the crepe paper tight. So you put the crepe paper up a little looser and hold it up with the 5 strings. What we're trying to do is eliminate all the sags. This room here, pardon me, has three strings on it. One just a couple feet out from the wall, one in the center, and one a couple feet out from the other wall. And they go where the T-bars are because you have to attach the brackets to the T-bar.
So the strings are going this way, but the crepe paper is going that way?
Yes, the strings go the long way of the room, and the crepe paper goes the short way.
Of the room.
And the reason we do it that way is there's less weight of the crepe paper, so there's less sag because it's a smaller, it's a shorter roll. It's like 20 feet as opposed to 24 feet or 48 or whatever.
Are they sheets of crepe paper?
Say again?
Is it sheets of crepe paper or is it small?
No, the crepe paper will come in a roll. I'll show you a picture, good question, I'll show you a picture later of a crepe paper roll. And much of it is 20 inches wide. Now, a ceiling bracket installed looks like this. Now, there's only one wire. What we're seeing is a wire and a shadow from the flash bulb. Now we don't use wire anymore. This picture's old. We use string now because it is so much easier, and the string is in your box. It is so much easier than the wire. In the background is ceiling clip holding up flats, and we used to wire them. The cable ties, even though they cost us more money, work a lot faster and easier. Very, very important in this is the wires have to go above the light. The wire has to be above the light. Surprisingly, every once in a while people will run them under the light. That doesn't work because then the crepe paper's under the lights. And the wire has to be high enough, or the string has to be high enough that the crepe paper doesn't sag on the lights. That's very easy to do. You just take a ceiling clip, and if the light bar is on this T-bar, then on every string you have up there, take a ceiling clip and put it up and clip it into the ceiling. And lift the string up, it will be, you know, this close to the ceiling, and the crepe paper then will stay off the lights. And I'm going to show you how to put the crepe paper up so there will be a seam in it that you can reach right through to do this. Here's what we received from the Mundelein Fire Department a few years back, addressed to Carmel High School. An inspection of your facility on Thursday, February 9th, 2006 revealed the violations listed below. Order to comply. Since these conditions are contrary to law, you must correct them upon receipt of this notice. An inspection to determine compliance with this notice will be conducted on Friday, February 10th, 2006. If you fail to comply with this notice before the reinspection date listed, you may be liable for the penalties provided for by law for such violations. General precautions. Raise ceiling around lights in rooms 300 and 105. So we can guarantee that if the crepe paper is touching the lights, we're going to be cited, and they will not allow us to open until it's been corrected.
Do you put the ceiling up first and then your flats?
No, put the flats up first, because we're going to staple the ceiling to the flats.
Okay.
The flats go up first.
Got it.
So now, brackets. There are 2 brackets per string, one on each end. Pardon me. And you have 3 sets, and you can use 1, 2, or 3 as you prefer. My recommendation If you've never done a room before, use the 3. So, then you put the T-bar on, you put the brackets on the T-bar closest to the wall. That's so the crepe paper goes up as high as you can get it quickly. You put one in the center of the room for the obvious reason, and then one closer to the closest as you can get to the other wall for the same reason. Now you attach the string to the bracket with a standard wire tie. And that's so after you get the string up and tied off, you can use a wire tie to tighten the string up and make it more taut. So, if you tie the string to the bracket, it will probably work. What we're concerned about is the sharp edge of the hole cutting through the string, and then it drops on you. And so it just becomes more work. And we say don't pull it so tight that you can bend the bracket. And I used to show people how easy it is to bend it, but I can't do that tonight because we got to use that bracket. So it's going into a room box right after we're done here.
So if there's 5 right here, which ones should you do? Say in this particular room.
Do the one, here's the room. So the closest to the wall,
Okay.
the center, and the closest to the wall for the brackets. And then these 2 just tie up with a ceiling clip. Remember I showed you the picture where they had brackets, and then other ones they just tied the string to a ceiling clip. And so what we're doing is saying these 3 on the bracket support the ceiling. These 2 intermediate ones are just taking the slack out, taking the sag out, and support every string with a ceiling clip by the light bar to keep the crepe paper off the lights. Can't emphasize that enough. Here are what the light bars look like. This room happened to have 2 light bars. It's a piece of condo. Each light bar has 4 bulbs. These have not been aimed. They're pointing every which way before the show starts. We aim them, and they hang on a threaded rod which clips in to a ceiling tile T, one of the T's up there. So you're going to put up a ceiling, and these things are in the way. I'm going to show you how to get around them easily. A lot of people don't do it this way. I'll show you what can happen if you don't. Incidentally, while we're talking ceiling lights, I'll show you this picture. This is before a room is decorated, the light bar is up, and this shows you the cord goes across the ceiling and drops down to be put into that receptacle. Remember we were talking about the flats, cut a hole in the flats, or cut a U in the flats so you can get to the receptacle.
And the cord goes behind the flat.
Cord goes behind the flats. Cords cannot be across the floor because they're tripping hazards. And the fire department will object to that also.